Hello again. I'm Stephen Jerome, and I'm going to continue reading from my third novel, The London Year. This is part 67. I remember the moment of my earliest awakenings when I noticed the veins in the arms of a teenage neighbor. I watched a handsome lifeguard getting dressed in the big open-air men's changing area at our local public swimming pool. I wasn't aroused, but there was something more than curiosity. It was attraction. My feelings had no name. I was only 10 years old. By 12, I was noticing other boys, especially in the shower at gym class. I began to have fantasies. I hadn't even started masturbating. I had girlfriends, was still years away from losing my virginity at 18, as brief a moment as that was. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know much more when I first had sex with a guy at 19. But I was never conflicted about my sexuality, never denied my attractions to either sex, had no coming out issues at all. Liking girls, liking boys, it all felt natural. Nor was there pressure at home to be a man. Well, except that one time when I was 13, waxing wonder over Twiggy, and my father said, "Leave Twiggy to the girls." Okay, so they were probably catching on. But for me, Twiggy was part of the whole 60s cultural explosion, which I felt viscerally early on, and it excited me no end. Fortunately, both my brother Walt and I were raised in a very open-minded atmosphere. We weren't force-fed any strict religious edicts. My mother was raised by bitter nuns and swore she'd never pass any religion on to her kids. My father was raised as a non-practicing C of E. New Zealand was never big on Bible bangers. Not so in America. Religion, church-going, seemed to be everywhere. Walt and I did get the basic Bible stories from a brief interlude with the Mormon Church until my parents felt there was just something a bit weird about their family-oriented conservatism. As a consequence, Walt and I were free to follow our own paths, both religious and political. And it turned out that as different as we were in so many ways, both of us were very spiritually minded. It was curious, however, the way our spiritual paths went in such opposite directions. I took a more spiritualist way, including a brief interlude with the Baha'i faith, so warm and loving they introduced me to Khalil Gibran, until I learned they didn't believe in reincarnation. That, to me, didn't make any sense. Buddhism was a better fit because it's all-size fit one philosophy, allowing, if not embracing, imperfections. I never joined any organized religion. By contrast, Walt found Christianity early on, including practices that swung from browbeating cults to megachurches. He may still think that I'll burn in hell after I die. Am I really an abomination? Or is it a love the sinner, not the sin kind of acceptance? In fact, I believe what many consider beyond belief, that everyone goes to heaven, goes home after we die. Everyone. Hell is of our own making, and if that's the case, I'm pretty sure we'd choose not to spend much time caught up in fork flames and eternal pain once we realized we're doing it to ourselves. Through all of this, my brother and I kept our parents' politically minded proclivities. This became a problem for Walt as American-style Christianity leaned further and further to the right. First, the moral majority claimed Ronald Reagan as their own. Then, after 9/11, George Bush became a Christian war hero. Obama was the Antichrist, which finally led to preaching Trump as a veritable savior. All this put Walt at odds with his religious surroundings. Suddenly he had to mind his P's and Q's. Talking freely raised eyebrows. People questioned his faith in Jesus based on his politics. Expressing concern to his pastor about endorsing any president from the pulpit, which is illegal, the man just shrugged. That's what his parishioners wanted to hear. Bottom line, they were paying the bills.